Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva, and I'm back. So grateful to be with you all once again. Here is what's making news tonight. An evacuation is underway at Amdanang First Nation in Sarnia to avoid benzene that's being released from a nearby chemical plant. Chris Hensing will be live on location to bring us the latest. An invasive species has been spotted in our city. We'll tell you why some folks are dreading the spotted lanternfly. And a Windsor man accused of terrorism was in court today. Our Jennifer LaGrassa was there for day one of the trial, and she will tell us more. Let's start with that spotted lanternfly. Grape growers and tree lovers have reason to worry about it because it's been found in Windsor. It's one of the first sightings of the invasive species in southwestern Ontario. Dalton Chen brings us more about this dreaded bug.
South Windsor resident Catherine Archer knew exactly what kind of insect she was stepping on. She encountered the colorful bug last week while she was attending a football game at Holy Names Catholic High School. The bug's wing markings made it unmistakable as a spotted lanternfly.
It's beautiful. It's an absolutely gorgeous bug. It has bright red inside, and the wings look like a spotted lantern. But it's an extremely invasive species. It takes out grapevines and fruit trees. I'd seen a Michigan news report about these spotted lanternflies. They said to stomp it, take a picture, and report it. I guess in Canada they want you to collect a sample, but I just stomped on it.
Archer did not collect the insect's carcass, but the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has confirmed her photo shows a spotted lanternfly. The agency did not find any more specimens or eggs in the area. To this date, the CFIA has detected no established spotted lanternfly populations in Canada. Still, last week's incident is worrisome. It's one of the first appearances of the spotted lanternfly in Windsor, Essex. The CFIA is encouraging the public to remain on the lookout and to collect a specimen if possible.
Windsor, Essex does have a lot of fruit production areas, but it's also very close to a known infestation in Oakland County in Michigan. There's a lot of traffic that comes through the borders in the Windsor, Essex area. So it really is a pest that every single individual should be aware of to help reduce the risk of introduction and spread.
Originating in Asia, the spotted lanternfly consumes sap. The insect is known to feed on more than 100 plant types. Along with devastating grapevines and fruit crops, it can have a negative impact on forest and ornamental trees, from red maple to black walnut. Members of Windsor Essex agricultural industries say everyone has reason to dread the spotted lanternfly.
It's scary. It's scary because it's basically a sap eater, but sap is very important to vines. Any interruption to that would have a detrimental impact. Even if it's like for like a week or two, it'll stunt the growth of the berries and we'll have limited yield or lose the growth.
The federally funded Invasive Species Center says it's a good thing that so many Windsor Essex residents are aware of the bug and that people are taking it seriously.
Spotted lanternfly are really good at hitchhiking. The adults are good at clinging onto vehicles as we drive, and they can lay egg masses on really any hard surfaces. It is unfortunate that they're invasive because they're quite beautiful to look at.
According to the Invasive Species Center, this time of year is when spotted lanternflies are in their adult egg-laying stage. Dalton Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
A Windsor man facing a terrorism charge was in court today for the start of his trial. He was arrested in 2022 by the RCMP for alleged hate-motivated offenses. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
Today, the court heard the moment Seth Bertrand was arrested and told he faced a terrorism charge. That was from an audio recording. The 21-year-old's trial began here today at Windsor's Superior Court of Justice. More than 2 years ago, Bertrand was arrested and charged in Windsor by the RCMP. That was for allegedly offering to help a known terrorist organization. Bertrand has pleaded not guilty. The group he's alleged to have helped, called Adam Waffen Division, became a terrorist-listed entity by the federal government in 2021. The government says that the group calls for acts of violence against racial, religious, and ethnic groups. During the audio recording played today as Bertrand is getting arrested, he says that he hasn't been, quote, active in that stuff forever, end quote, and then continues to say that he's been trying to get his life cleaned up. The court heard from its first witness, RCMP officer Mark Thomas, who arrested Bertrand. He brought Bertrand to the Windsor police station, where Bertrand is heard shouting that he's not a terrorist. Bertrand has faced previous charges. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to hate crimes against Windsor's LGBTQ+ community. The trial will continue tomorrow and is expected to last 9 days. Jennifer Lagrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
People in Aamjiwnaang are evacuating their homes because of work at a nearby chemical plant in Sarnia. The work involves a controlled release of benzene. The CBC's Chris Ensing joins me now live on the ground there. Chris, how many people have had to leave?
Yeah, Katerina, about 100 people have made that decision to leave their home, and it could last about a week because of what's occurring. They say that it's just too risky for them to stay here. Now, we're inside of the community center right now. It's a bit rainy outside, but this has been a focal point for people to come and get assistance if they need it, to try and find a place to stay. And when we think about what's happening here, it's the removal of that benzene product that is being done to try and meet new industry standards. And this has happened since what occurred back in the spring, a release that triggered monitors into an alert area where people were worried about their health. Some people were hospitalized with exposure to benzene, which over a long period of time can cause cancer. Speaking to people today who were grappling with that decision on whether or not to leave, it was a lot of conversations about generations, people thinking about their family before them and their family growing up now. I spoke with Jason Plain, who was trying to figure out whether or not he should leave. Here's what he told me today.
What it's been like growing up here is it's pretty good. We got a really good community, but yeah, there's been some sicknesses and everything like that every now and then, and we don't know if it's like from the plants or we never really know. It just come to light like these last few years, because I'm worried for my grandchildren. And yeah. You know, this earth doesn't belong to us. It belongs to everybody.
Must be hard for everybody impacted by this. Chris, will this work solve the problem?
Yeah, that's the big question that people have right now. This plan has been approved by the federal and provincial governments. There have been daily meetings with them, INEOS, the company that is operating these plants, as well as in Aamjiwnaang First Nations Chief and Council. And the committee that is going over this work says that they're following monitors closely to make sure that it doesn't reach levels which would create danger for people inside of the community. And not to get too technical, but what they're doing is removing the benzene from one of the tanks that the community has a problem with for the last 6 years, saying that it was leaky and that they believe that's the source of the emissions. That benzene is going to go into another tank, but that tank is just across the road from the council office. And so there's still concerns about what the long-term plan is here. INEOS itself has announced that they are going to shut down this plant within the next 2 years. And there's conversations about what that will require in the decommissioning process. But speaking with the chief today, I asked her about the timing of all of this occurring a day after the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. She says that's been top of mind for a lot of folks as this all goes down.
Well, I had a conversation this morning with one of our counselors, and that's what he had brought up. He's like, I was really thinking about how far we've come with Orange Shirt Day and the truth coming out and the treatment of our children, but here we are facing this right now. So I think it's just, it's an ongoing, it's a intergenerational thing that we'll have to do to address that.
Again, Katerina, we hear about generations. We hear about the concerns for people from before and the people who are growing up here now. We should mention as well that this work will begin in earnest tomorrow. That's when they believe that a lot of the activity will happen around the tanks. Speaking with emergency officials in Sarnia, they say that people in that city are okay. They'll be watching monitors to see if it requires anything more or different for people to start doing. And as far as how long this could last, some people have been told until Friday, but they're preparing into next week to make sure that it's safe for when they return.
Thanks for this, Chris. That's CBC's Chris Ensing reporting from Aamjiwnaang First Nation. Here in Windsor, 6 small local businesses are being featured in a unique pop-up kiosk at Devonshire Mall. The hope is the temporary location will create returning customers. Dale Molnar reports.
This is where the Whiskey Jack Boutique is located on University Avenue in downtown Windsor. They sell all Canadian-made products. But for this week, they're selling some gift items at this pop-up kiosk at Devonshire Mall. The kiosk is set up by Invest Windsor Essex. Sabrina DeMarco is the executive director of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Center.
We're running this campaign to highlight local and independent businesses and to educate the public about the importance of supporting local and independent businesses and giving these business vendors that we selected an opportunity to promote their businesses and create further awareness and hopefully attract a new customer base at a very busy shopping destination in our region.
It's a way of making the most of Small Business Month, and Ali Mistakidis from the Whiskey Jack Boutique hopes it brings in new customers.
For us, it's a good exposure to perhaps some shoppers that might not venture downtown where we have our shop, so exposure to a few more people who come to the mall all the time and maybe don't venture outside the malls.
She says she makes sure people know where they are and also makes them aware of their website where they can order online. DeMarco says Invest Windsor Essex chose the businesses on a first-come, first-served basis, but they also had to meet certain criteria, such as having adequate inventory to occupy the kiosk.
I think it's important that people recognize that shopping local is essential.
We want to let consumers know that these local products exist and where they can find them throughout the region.
The Whiskey Jack Boutique began occupying the kiosk Monday and will continue for 1 week. The other businesses participating in the program are Urban Art Market, Corporal for Life Apparel, Montanero's Coffee, Ruscombe Maple Products, and the Little Pedal Truck. The pop-up kiosk will continue until November 10th. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy, hi! I missed you. It's so good to see you.
The best surprise ever. Great to have you back, Katerina. So nice to see you.
Oh, I've missed you. I know we have a lot of weather to talk about, but I wanted to just say I miss you. I've missed you. So great to see you again, and I'm happy to be back.
Yes.
And good to be with you.
Love it, love it. Lucky for us, lucky for the whole team. Yeah, and we actually have some weather to talk about to greet you. I mean, just over the last couple of hours, in fact, less than 2 hours time, we've seen the temperature drop 10 degrees. I mean, we went from just after 4 o'clock, sunny conditions at the high for the day of 25, and now look at us, 15 degrees as we've got that cold front that's passing through. So it's bringing the wet weather that's coming through now, but it's also bringing those northwesterly winds that are changing the temperature profile pretty quickly. Look at the humidex too. So this is, I know it's wet at the moment, but this is going to be much drier air in terms of bringing our dew points down, and so it's not going to feel as muggy once it comes in. So we're seeing a real change in that as well. Sarnia, Goderich too, drop down towards the teens. So really no humidex value at all. It's very close to where the temperature is. So the current sustained winds are coming out of behind the front. You can see them now coming out of the north to northwest, and those have been strong enough at times. Chatham-Kent still ahead of that boundary, and so we're still getting that flow coming from a more southerly direction. But look at, as you get the front going through, those winds are going to be kicking up. So I've been seeing those gusts up near 60 kilometers an hour here, and that's going to happen further east too. It's coming, Chatham-Kent, it's coming, London. As the front goes through, those winds will kick up. So now we're looking at the forecast. As we go through the overnight, all of those directional arrows are going to start to line up towards that north to northwest, and that cooler air is going to filter right across the region. But you may have noticed by tomorrow morning, they're starting to back off. The direction stays the same, but they're not going to be nearly as blustery. So there's some of the heavier rain that's now going through along the boundary. And, you know, it's really making haste. So once this kind of makes its way through, we'll not only dry out, just a spotty shower kind of coming through behind this. You can see it's already the heavy stuff leaving Windsor, just south of Lakeshore there on the way to you, and Leamington pushing away from Amherstburg. But we'll also see the cloud line moving out too. So we get into clearing through the overnight tonight, and a nice setup for tomorrow. If you've been finding it too muggy, I think you'll appreciate the air mass that's going to be moving in with that drier feel. Will our temperatures come down? Yes, a little bit. relatively short-lived. So we'll have another kind of cooler day and then they'll start to rebound once again. But have a look at the overnight temperatures too. A real departure from what we've been seeing. So going into those single digits, if you do have the window cracked, I think you might actually notice the difference overnight tonight once the front goes through and those rain showers. So tomorrow it's 19, and then look at that bounce once again. Sunshine again Thursday, or at least mostly sunny, 23. And then as we head towards the weekend, it looks like Friday and Sunday, a chance for some showers, Katerina, coming our way, but I'll keep fine-tuning that as we get closer to the weekend there.
Thanks for that. As
Welcome
always,
back.
Oh, thank you. See you soon again. Let's take a live look outside there. It's a lot calmer than it was not too long ago. When we come back, international news. Stay with us. Welcome back. We turn now to a rapidly escalating situation in the Middle East. Iran has launched a direct attack on Israel. Dozens of ballistic missiles were fired into Israel, further increasing the risk of an all-out regional war. CBC's Chris Brown has the details.
This was a day that started with news of a huge escalation as Israel ordered its troops across the border with Lebanon to engage Hezbollah forces directly. But then it got much, much worse as Iran fired a large volley of rockets at Israel. In the skies over Israel's major cities, swarms of Iranian missiles honed in on targets as Israel's missile defenses launched to intercept. Our camera captured the dramatic scene above our hotel in Jerusalem. On the ground, sirens wailed in warning as people ran for shelters. Israelis were on alert from late afternoon when Israel Defense Forces spokesman Daniel Hagari provided the first official word that the U.S. believed an attack was coming, before later warning the missile attack could be wide-scale. But then, just moments before the air alert sounded, the Tel Aviv area was hit by another unexpected attack. 2 gunmen shot at passengers on a light rail train and people waiting on a platform, killing 6 and wounding 10. Eyewitnesses say a passerby with a gun killed at least one of the attackers. But there was little time to process that before the Iranian missiles began. In a statement, Iran's Revolutionary Guard warned if Israel retaliated, they would deliver a more crushing and destructive response. Last week, Israel assassinated Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Iran's biggest militia, Hezbollah, and many of his top commanders by annihilating his Beirut command bunker with a direct hit. Israel had already been conducting intensive bombing of Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, leaving more than 1,000 people dead. But early this morning, escalated further by sending its troops into direct combat with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The IDF says they were localized ground raids, but opponents called the operation an invasion. It appears that far more people were killed or hurt in the light rail attacks than by Iran's missile barrage, which has no confirmed deaths, but the attack seems certain to expand this war even more. Chris Brown, CBC News, Jerusalem.
One of the most anticipated events of the U.S. election campaign is happening tonight. The 2 candidates for vice president face off in a televised debate. With just over a month to go until Election Day, Chris Reyes sets the scene for us.
A few things to know about the vice presidential debate between Ohio Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz happening at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York. No studio audience, 2 moderators, network anchors Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan. No opening statements, and unlike the presidential debate, mics will not be muted, allowing the 2 candidates to more freely rebut each other. J.D. Vance won the virtual coin toss, and he has chosen to speak last. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden were asked to give final words of advice to their respective candidates.
Mr. President, any advice for Tim Walz on Tuesday?
Did you offer him any personal advice?
No, he doesn't need it. Oh, well, we've been speaking a little bit back and forth. I think he's in good shape.
Expect the big issues to be on the table: the economy, immigration, abortion, and with Iran launching a major attack on Israel, foreign policy. Given that this is the last debate on the calendar before voters cast their ballot, it's a good opportunity for both candidates to trumpet their ticket's biggest talking points to a national audience. The debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in September attracted more than 60 million viewers. It was also the only showdown between the 2, raising the stakes even higher for Vance and Walz, who will aim to move the needle in this very tight race.
Where he's going to have an issue is how does he defend his record? How does he defend Kamala Harris's record? And to be honest, he has to defend Joe Biden's record as well.
Well, the first thing Tim needs to do is just be Tim. This is a great friend. He has been an outstanding governor, and he's going to be a great vice president of the United States of America. He cares about everyone. Both his and Vice President Harris's plans are about lifting everyone up.
The debate will last 90 minutes with 2 4-minute commercial breaks, and unlike previous vice presidential debates, both candidates will be standing the entire time. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
When we come back, the impact of Hurricane Helene. Stay with us. Hurricane Helene now ranks as one of the deadliest storms in modern U.S. history. More than 135 deaths have been reported across 6 states, and hundreds of people remain unaccounted for. Days after the storm slammed ashore in the Big Bend area of Florida, millions of people all the way to North Carolina are still without water, power, and cell service. Western North Carolina has been particularly hard hit. Emergency crews from across the U.S. and Canada are working to locate the missing and restore services. Forecasters are also keeping an eye on Tropical Storm Kirk. It's well offshore, but is expected to become a powerful Atlantic hurricane later this week. The federal Liberals have dodged another bullet. As expected, a second Conservative non-confidence motion has been defeated in the House of Commons. But now the Bloc Québécois has given the government an ultimatum.
You do this before October 29th, or we negotiate with other opposition parties to have the government fall.
The Bloc says it will vote to bring the government down unless the Liberals back a bill to boost old age security for seniors under 75. Seniors over 75 got a top-up in 2022. The Liberals aren't saying they won't support the bill, but they pointed to the high cost, about $3 billion a year. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on the CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Explore. So great being back with you. Let's do it again tomorrow. Have a good night.